Hey, you watching this video right now, what if I told you that you can launch your very first Airbnb business with $50,000? And guess what? None of it came from your personal savings. I promise you, I'm not Houdini. I'm just not gonna make it miraculously pop in your pocket. I'm gonna break down everything for you because in today's lesson, I'm gonna show you how to get that funding using two very great business credit cards, the smart way and having a great game plan. So what I want you to do right now is go grab your pen and paper. No, seriously, go grab your pen and paper because this is going to be a good one. And without further ado, let's dive in. All right, understand this when it comes to short-term and long-term rentals, ladies and gents. Again, I do work with a lot of real estate investors that look to scale or start up certain, ventures in the real estate industry. Airbnb is no different, okay? I understand that people try to make it seem like it's simple, like, you just get this and then you get that and you have all this money and you're balling and all that type of stuff. All that stuff is cool, but people really don't talk about the groundwork as far as utilizing certain costs, how much you need, what you need, and how to get the correct funding to scale all of this, if that makes sense. A lot of people will just utilize their, personal savings if they have like $50,000 that they saved up, or anything of that nature. You got to understand that there are smarter ways to do this. If it took you 10 years to save $100,000, what if I told you that you can get $100,000 in business funding by just utilizing certain, sequences and blueprints that I'm going to give you in this video that can really help you get that $100,000 in a few weeks, maybe even in a few days. So if you really pay attention, this is definitely going to help you and help you start and scale your Airbnb. But enough about that, let's keep going. Now, when it comes to starting an Airbnb, it's more than just, again, renting a place and then just posting it online. It's way more than that. So let's actually break down some average cost of what it could take. Now, again, don't come from my head or anything like that. In the comment section, it could definitely range. I'm just going to give you surface level. Every location is different. First, let's talk about the location and rules. Understand this, ladies and gents, and for all my people that's already in it, they know this. Not every city, apartment building, or rental are created equal, okay? Especially when it comes to short-term rentals. There are some places that just have stricter rules, licenses, and even fines if you're not, if you're really not up to date or you really don't know what's going on around you. So what you need to do is really check your city laws, your landlord policies, HOA rules. Man, oh man, this slips a lot of people up when it comes to HOA rules, and typical cost. You need to have all of these written down on a spreadsheet and know where you're going as far as the locations and everything like that. But let's actually break these down a little more. When it comes to permits or licenses, those could typically range around $100 to around $1,000, okay? Now again, it's just average, depending on it could be cheaper where you are, it could be more expensive, but typically around there. The city fees and taxes could be like $200 all the way up to $2,000. Insurance upgrades can be $300 and can even go up to $600 per year. And next, let's talk about something that's the most important, which is the property. With the property, you can lease, of course, an apartment building, apartment, rent houses, an individual home, duplexes, anything that you need, but there are still costs that are associated with that. And with this, again, surface level, you're likely going to need your first and last month's rent. So that means at least $2,000 to $5,000. This also depends on your location, ladies and gents. It could be less, it could be more. You really don't know until you actually get to that place. But a lot of times you do have to pay first and last month's rent. The next thing that you're going to need is a security deposit. Now, with security deposits, from what I've seen from a few people, it could be $1,000 to $3,000. If they're not pulling your credit, or if you have bad credit, this could definitely, set you back because you might have to pay, that first month as a security deposit and things like that. But it could just be that location. That location just requires you to pay a higher amount. So you got to have money for that. Next, the furnishing and setup, which is the most important thing when it comes to Airbnbs. People expect Airbnb units to really feel like home, or you want people to come into your Airbnb and feel like an experience away from home. Some people like just that homey feeling, but others want to feel, man, when I went to this Airbnb, it felt like I wasn't home. They had this theme in this location, this theme in the bedroom, this theme in the kitchen. It was awesome. And to make themes, it costs bread or money. And for the most part, you're going to need, of course, beds, couches, kitchenware, linen, and even nice decor. And just with that alone, that could cost you $10,000 to $20,000. Now, hold on. Again, we already know if you're in a mentorship, they could probably give you a deal if they have vendors. You know, of course, you have Wayfair, Amazon out there. There's so many different things, but I'm just giving you the surface level. If you were to go to any of these locations and try to get this stuff, you know, outright, okay? So don't cover my head or anything, but it could typically, you know, cost you that, especially for the good stuff. Sometimes you don't want the cheap things. Next thing that you have to look into, which is Wi-Fi and utilities. You can't have an Airbnb without Wi-Fi unless you smack it on the front of the, you know, disclaimer or something like that. Like, hey, no Wi-Fi here. You got to talk to your sister. So we don't know, but those can typically run from $100 to $300 a month. And you still have to have everything on lock. So you got to have security locks, smart cameras, safety gear. Those can cost sometimes $100 to $300 or even $1,000, and it might be a monthly plan for certain things. Next, you want it to run smoothly. If you're not going to be the one that's going to be doing this day in and day out, you got to have systems and services in place. So to keep your rental running smoothly, you're going to need, number one, a cleaning service. Unless you're doing it yourself, some cleaning services can, you know, typically range from $100 to $300 a month. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about are management tools. Okay. Now, with management tools, you might have to get somebody in place to really watch the, you know, the Airbnb for you. Make sure everything is good. They clock in and out as far as what's going on. They just relay the information for you. This can cost you about $20 to maybe $1,000 a month. Next, you're going to need professional photos and listings. Look, I get it. I know that you take really nice pictures with filters on Instagram, but this isn't that. When you're putting things on Airbnb or these professional locations and you want people to actually bite on your product, you gotta have nice pictures, okay? You gotta make it seem like, man, this looks way nicer than the stuff I was gonna pick down the street. Let's go with your stuff. And sometimes with professional photo takers, it could take $2,000 to $5,000. Roughly, depending on, you know, where you are. And finally, an emergency buffer. Guys, you always have to plan for surprises. You have to set aside at least 10 to 15% of your total cost and about $3,000 to $5,000. Now, these aren't, you know, just set in stone, but you definitely have to have this in orders for, you know, rainy days or just in case, because you never know when it's time to be a business owner and you have to take care of something that you didn't expect to happen. So with the total estimate to start, we're looking at $20,000 to $50,000 on the good side, because you don't want the bad stuff. You want it to really hit the ground running. So you're going to need $50,000 probably to really start out. And I already know what you're thinking. Just like I said earlier, where in the world am I going to get all the money to do this? It's going to take me years to save all this. This sounds great, but how is this even possible? Yes, it's definitely possible. And here's the truth. You don't need a humongous bank loan, and you definitely don't need to drain your personal savings. Again, people are doing this around you that you don't even know. Only thing that you are going to need is a smart business plan and business funding. So let's go ahead and break down the two best credit cards that you can use on the business side to actually achieve this $50,000 goal. Starting with card number one, Service Credit Union, their Business Platinum Credit Card. Now, when it comes to Service Credit Union, I've talked about them in the past on my channel. When it comes to them, you do need to establish a relationship with them first on the business, on the personal side. Do not try to go up in here and even though you have great credit scores to try to apply for, you know, their business credit card, you possibly can get approved, but you won't get approved for what you need because you don't have that relationship with them. Credit unions are, you know, they more so go off of relationships. So you need to make sure that you establish one on the personal side so you can get the maximum benefits on the business side. Does that make sense? So you're going to need a 700 credit score or better for the best limits. And you always want to aim for at least a 720 or higher because that's going to give you the best chances, but I'll explain that in a second. On the business side, they do pull from Experian, your Experian personal. So that means it needs to be, you know, a 700 or better. Now, when it comes to the approvals, listen to me carefully. If you want a really, really solid approval of $20,000, you need a 700 credit score or better. If you want to go for maximum benefits, as far as that $30,000, you need a 730, 740 or better, ladies and gents. You definitely need that. The reason why that I say that is because they literally give you the information. Look, if you have this, if you have a 700, we'll give you maybe 20, 25,000. If you have a 750, 740 or something of that nature, you can get the maximum, which is $30,000. I have seen people get approved with 690s and stuff like that with, like $10,000 limits, $12,000 limits. But if you want maximum, that $30,000 limit, have your personal credit at a 730 or better, okay? And also that means having no negatives on your credit report, especially Experian. Also, the next thing I just want to say is Service Credit Union is inquiry sensitive. So try not to have any recent inquiries on Experian, because if you do and you check all the other boxes, sometimes they can take that into account and still deny you, because if they feel like you're fishing for credit and they don't want to be a part of that. So just make sure you have all those ducks in a row, and I promise you, you will get approved for what you need to get approved for, which is maybe that $25,000, $30,000. So pro tip, join the credit union on the personal side, establish some type of relationship, put some money in the account, and then rinse and repeat that on the business side. Open the business checking account, savings account, put some money in the account, maybe $20, $50, $100, $1,000 in the account, and then you apply for this, okay? Show them that you care, even if you don't. Now, let's go over the second credit card, which comes from Wells Fargo, and they have the Wells Fargo Business Cash Card. Understand this when it comes to Wells Fargo, ladies and gents. A lot of people don't really talk about them. They really help small business owners and especially real estate investors. So that's the best of both worlds for you, okay? You just have to make sure all of your ducks in a row. And it's kind of similar to Service Credit Union. But let's break down the data points of what you're gonna need. Now, when it comes to this, the credit score that you're gonna need is at least a 715 or higher. Yes, you can get approved with like a 690 or something like that, but to get maximum benefits, you need a 715 or higher from what I've seen from my other clients. Now, when it comes to this, I don't expect for you to apply for Service Credit Union on Monday and then apply for Wells Fargo on Friday, because you will get denied, okay? Wells Fargo is kind of inquiry sensitive for some people, not all people. So I want you to understand that having no recent inquiries on Experian is gonna give you a better shot. Same thing I said for Service. So understand that either wait a few months where that inquiry doesn't matter, or remove that inquiry that you got from Service, okay? When it comes to the intro perks of this credit card, you get a 0 APR for 12 months. So that means if you get approved for a high limit of $10,000 to $25,000, which they typically range from, that means you're gonna have 0 APR for 12 months. No interest is going to that, and you have time to apply and also, get those couches that you want, the amenities, everything to make these themes in your Airbnb, really stand out before you really have to start paying serious interest on that $25,000. Does that make sense? But again, pro tip, build the relationship first, then open the business bank account, put some money in the account, let it season, then apply. Same thing I told you about Service Credit Union, we're gonna do the same thing with Wells Fargo. So now, then when you're ready, together, you can get both credit cards and get access up to $30,000 to $50,000, ladies and gents. Enough to cover your startup costs, from renting the furniture to your emergency buffer. So let's recap. Starting an Airbnb can cost, typically from $20,000 to $50,000 if you really, really want to do it right. You don't need to always use or burn your personal money, but with a strong credit profile, you can use business credit cards to launch your rentals. And you can start with Service Credit Union's Platinum Card and then follow up with the Wells Fargo Business Cash to stack on top of your funding. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, man, that sounds awesome, that sounds great, but I have these collections, late payments on my credit report, my score is in the 500s. Don't worry, I'm still gonna help you. Because what I did, I created the How to Credit Start program. The link is in the bio, where I help business owners fix their credit and acquire capital similar to $50,000 or even $350,000, so they can scale their short-term, long-term rentals, fix and flips, you name it. So what I want you to do is click the link below again to join the How to Credit Start program. It can start with a free 15-minute consultation, and we can get you the funds that you're looking for. Again, I want to thank you guys for stopping by. I really hope that this helps one of you guys, and I really hope that this helps you, really get to that next level so you can be just like everybody else, scaling your Airbnbs and getting to the money. Again, I want to thank you guys for stopping by, and until next time, ladies and gents.